My tenant is always paying the rent late. My tenant is not paying the late fees. What can I charge in late fees? These are questions that we have seen over the last few months on social media, even more so now. We're going to answer those questions for you right now. This is the Landlord Advocates, where we help landlords become better landlords. I'm your host, Matthew Lyman. Welcome. Let's address the late fee first. For those of you who do not have a lease or rental agreement with your tenant, you technically cannot be charging late fees at all. For those of you that do have leases and rental agreements, that do have provisions in there that allow for the collection of late fees, consider this. Many jurisdictions across America do not allow for late fees. But let's address those that do. Some of you have late fees where the tenant is 1 day late, they have a late fee. That late fee can be $1 a day, $5 a day, $10 a day, $25 a day. Some of you have late fees where it's a flat rate or a percentage of the rent. For those of you that have a flat rate or a percentage, that is the one that is most favored by judges. The late fee normally is a minimum of $50. I should say a maximum of $50 or 10% of the monthly rent, whichever is greater, is what would be imposed upon the tenants to pay. For those of you that are charging $5 and $10 and $25 a day, that's excessive. That is excessive. And in many jurisdictions across America, it is illegal. In New York State, it is called criminal usury. What is that? In layman's terms, it means loan sharking. Some of you are actually using these late fees and boasting about it on social media as a great source of revenue that supplements the rent that the tenants are paying late. Some of you are stating that the late fee covers the mortgages, the late fees that you have to pay because your mortgage is late because the tenant is paying the rent late. And therefore, the rent is late and now your mortgage is late. Now, we understand during the COVID-19 pandemic that yes, you have dipped into your savings, your retirement account, whatever it might be, to cover the expenses that you have to cover because you're not getting any rent. But there's also landlords out there who have been doing this for years, where you have no cash reserve fund to cover you in case something like this happens, when the rent is not being paid or being paid late. You should have 6, 9, and 12 months worth of that money set aside to pay your mortgage just in case this happens. Not only mortgage, but your expenses on the property as well. I myself own multiple rental properties. Multiple. And on my primary residence, I have a mortgage. If I pay that mortgage late, my fee is not $300, $500, $200, $100. That fee is $16. So if you want to charge your tenant a $50 late fee, alright, go ahead. But for these excessive late fees, no. We had a case a few years ago where our team was representing the landlord. The tenant was a very nice woman, very nice, where her 2 sons, by the way, were very respectful. She was brought to court because she was behind in rent and behind in late fees. The majority of the money that was due was late fees. We had spoke to her. She works a state job that's paid bi-weekly. The late fees were so much that she was taking money from the rent and trying to divvy it up between the rent and the late fees, so she was falling behind on both. We called the landlord up and spoke to her and said, this is a good tenant who can pay the rent, but pay it every 2 weeks. The late fees are hurting her. She can't pay both. Can we work with her? The landlord insisted, no, I want my money. The landlord wins out. Our team represents her, represents the landlord. They have the ultimate decision. So in this case here, we spoke to the landlord, we spoke to the tenant and told her the landlord's decision that no, she wants to move. The tenant said, I will have to move then, and I will. The tenant moved to Florida with her family members that were already there. So this landlord not only lost a good tenant who was paying the rent but paying it late, but she also lost out on any money that she got in that judgment because the tenant moved completely far away, and the likelihood of collecting on that judgment is not going to happen. Landlords, don't allow the late fee to be the deciding factor on whether the tenant stays or leaves. And then goes into the other part. Oh, my tenant is always paying the rent late. I want them to go. They're paying it late. Go! Now, we have seen suggestions on social media, on Facebook groups, NY Landlords, Landlords Only, and others, that landlords have suggested to other landlords, raise the late fee, raise the rent, get rid of the lowlifes, get rid of the dirtbags, get rid of the losers. Stop, landlords. Stop and think before you do that. Consider, is the tenant or tenants noisy? Are they creating such a ruckus that neighbors 8 houses over can hear them? Are they damaging the property? Is the front yard a junkyard? Do they have car parts all over the place? Are they painting the apartment hot pink, hot blue, hot purple, hot whatever? Are they threatening the other tenants? Are they threatening you? Do they have a zoo in the apartment and the animals are defecating inside and outside and everywhere? Are they selling drugs? Do they have a lot of traffic? Are they doing drugs? Are they nasty tenants? If they are all of that, and they are behind in the rent, absolutely evict them. Get rid of them. Absolutely, get rid of them. They're a pain. They're not helping you. But at these tenants that you want to evict are only behind in rent consistently, but they pay the rent, and that is your only reason to evict them, we ask you to reconsider that decision. We have been working with landlords for close to 30 years, and we have had many cases like this where they have come to us and said, I want to get rid of my tenant because they're always behind in rent. And we ask them those questions, and they answer them. And we tell them with tough love, as we are going to do here with you right now, if your tenants are in that position where the only issue you have with them is that they're paying the rent late, but they are paying it, we tell our clients, shh, deal with it. Live with it. It's not a problem. If all the other things that they're doing, if they're doing bad things, then yes, then it is an issue. But if that's not the case, then stop. Stop right now. Because there are many landlords here in America, according to Moody's Corporation, a huge financial services corporation here in the United States, well-renowned all over the world, just did a recent study and has found that there is over $70 billion in rent owed to landlords across America right now. I know because I'm one of those landlords that is owed rent money. I would love to be in the position of getting the rent as every landlord would in America, whether it be late, a week, 2, 3 weeks. We don't care as long as we are getting the rent. Landlords, for those of you who are getting the rent but getting it late, we are envious of you. In a pleasant way, we are envious of you because you're getting something that we're not. There are $70 billion out there that are owed to landlords across our great America who would love to have that money right now. So landlords, consider the late fees. Don't be excessive with them. You're going to lose a good tenant otherwise. Don't look at the late fees as a boon to your economy. I'm making a lot of money off these late fees. That's not what they're meant for. The late fees are to encourage the tenant to pay the rent on time. It's not to punish them over and over again, because by doing that, you may lose a very good tenant. A very good tenant. Don't do that. And don't jump to the whim of evicting a tenant because they're just behind in rent, and they always pay on time, but they're always behind, and I'm sick and tired of it. Well, you know what, landlords, at the end of the day, forget about it. You're getting the rent. Don't allow your anger, your animosity, your attitude, because they're paying me my rent late and I want it now. I want it on the 1st. I don't want it on the 10th, the 15th, the 20th. I want it now. You're going to allow that attitude of yours to get in the way of collecting the rent. We've seen it happen countless times. Well, we have Our team has evicted tenants who have been behind in the rent. Those same landlords have come to us a few months later to evict the tenants that took that apartment over. And those tenants now owe thousands of dollars in rent and have caused thousands of dollars in damages. Reconsider your decision before you decide to evict a tenant solely based upon them being late with the rent. We say this, landlords, with love. We say it with care and compassion. We look out for you. We care about you. We want you to make the right decision so that you don't end up losing your properties or losing good tenants. Until next time, landlords, we ask that you subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, so that you can be made aware of other videos that are forthcoming. Until then, take care.